Move into our communications aspect. So Justin, if you'd like to come up and present your portion.
Morning, everyone. My name is Justin Giorgio. I am the Vice President of Strategic Communications with K2 & Company. We have been the media relations partner of the Illinois Republican Party for the last, since I'd say about mid-2023, and we're excited to continue to work. To dive in a little bit, just to give you an overview of some of our 2024 work. The Illinois Republican Party was mentioned more than 2,500 times over the past year in various broadcast, print, online media. That represents a 158% increase, roughly 7 mentions per day. It's a doubling of our total in daily reach from 2023. The peaks of that coverage came obviously during the Republican and Democrat national conventions. We were very heavily focused on our messaging, particularly our local messaging, as well as the transition to Chairman Salvi. Additionally, the gala provided us a great opportunity to bring in media to build those relationships as well. We'll continue to do that this year with the upcoming gala. What does this mean? Our outreach to reporters is working. Our strategy this year was mainly largely focused on background work, stuff you don't see every day, but working directly with reporters, contacting those, rebuilding those relationships, trying to tear them away from the relationships of the past that they like to go to so much that bother all of us within the party when people who are not related to the day-to-day operations of the party are being quoted, and getting them to contact us in their stead. It's working. Anecdotally, I have received many more phone calls, many more emails, had many more conversations with reporters in this state than I have in years past. Just a couple of snippets from some of our top coverage, some of our messaging from the past year. What led to this success? Like I said, the relationships in hand-to-hand combat with reporters. Sometimes that means getting on the phone and telling Greg Himes that we think his opinions are garbage. Sometimes that means getting on the phone with them and giving them a little tidbit of something to make a story a little less aggressive. Sometimes that means offering an olive branch, making nice. As much as we don't necessarily like it, sometimes we have to do it to get the message of the party out there. Regular cadence and planning. Our philosophy at K2 is that we need to be in inboxes all the time. We need people to be thinking about us all the time. We want to be in reporters' inboxes 2 or 3 times a week so that they know what our messaging is and how we are moving forward. That is the only way to keep driving a message. Someone has to hear something 7 times before they recall it. Well, we want to keep driving that message home every single day. And like I said, driving strategic messages. We want to, I don't want to say we want to limit what we're talking about, but we want to focus what we're talking about. We want to keep our messages tight, concise, digestible, easily accessible for everyone who's going to be reading the coverage that we're placing. Chairman Salvi has been a breath of fresh air to some of our coverage. I don't know how you can hear the chairman's update and not understand the enthusiasm that she brings to every interview she does. It's something that I find really refreshing and is very helpful in our pitching, and quite frankly, reporters just like talking to her. So that is a value add moving forward. Looking ahead at our 2025 messaging, we're going to have primarily 2 tracks. There is a national track, Republican governance in Washington, in the White House, both houses of Congress, majority on the Supreme Court. This is going to be our positive messaging. This is how we retain many of the gains that we've made in the last year, 2 years. Our in-state messaging couldn't be more different. This is where we go on the attack. This is where we place our focus on bringing in people who are, I don't want to say not with us right now, but people who are wishy-washy. The focus here is largely Brandon Johnson, if I'm going to be honest. When you have half the approval rating in the Chicago Teachers Union, you want to take advantage of that. So when we're trying to recruit new people, bring them in, our message is going to be largely in-state focused. We want to talk about the horrible policies of J.B. Pritzker, the terrible policies of Brandon Johnson, the continued lies that we're seeing out of Democrats in Springfield and in Chicago. And when we're talking about trying to retain and grow this party, we're going to be talking about our positive messaging. What are we seeing in Washington? How do we bring that to Illinois? Why are we doing this? I just kind of dove into this a little bit. But what I will say is, in terms of where we are focusing these messages, you'll be able to see it a little bit in the way we talk about things. When Kathy goes outside the Chicago DMA, I'm going to ask her to use more positive, more Washington, D.C. centric messaging. Why? We have a strong presence outside the Chicago DMA. We have strong growth over the last 2-year period. We saw a lot of rising in heavily Republican areas. We want to solidify that. We want to maintain that growth, keep those people in the fold, and drive home the message that, hey, your vote for President Trump, it worked. We're doing the right things. How do we get that here in Illinois? When we're in the Chicago DMA, in the Chicago media market, we want to keep our focus on, oh my God, how bad is Brandon Johnson doing? How bad is J.B. Pritzker doing? How high are your property taxes? What are the things that we need to change here, and what are we seeing in Washington that we can bring back? So these are not to say that these are disparate messages, but it's in terms of weight of the message. How much are we emphasizing one versus the other? Some of our tactics. We're always looking for new voices, and my challenge to each and every person in this room is to please continue to bring us new people who are passionate about the topics that they want to push moving forward. We're always looking for new voices, ways to amplify people who are passionate about the issues in this state. So please get in contact with me, Matt, Tommy, whoever, if you have people who are passionate and want to sign letters to the editor or beyond their editors, or do anything we can to get that message out. Non-traditional media, we saw huge growth in the podcast presence, online TV presence. I will say that these are generally relatively smaller audiences that we see on average. However, they are more focused. They're more issue specific. So these are ways for us to really be focused on, driving home a specific message, a specific goal. We do need to be selective. None of us wants a Kamala Harris color daddy $100,000 spent on a set story out there, but just to try and keep everything in check, we just need to be selective about those. Continue to build rapport relationships. Like I said, this has been a very successful year. We saw some of the impact of that growth this year, particularly around the convention, particularly around the transition to Chairman Salvi, being able to have those open lines of communication with reporters. You may not see it every day, but some of the conversations that I and my colleague Noah, who also works with the party with me, the conversations that he and I have in the background sometimes quash stories before they even run. So, sometimes that is a better outcome than, just trying to get something placed. So continuing to build those reporter relationships, in particular in the Chicago DMA. This is where we need to find a lot of growth. We need the suburbs to continue to grow. Like it or not, we are still at a disadvantage statewide, and we need to bring more people into the fold. That means using the largest DMA in the state as a messaging vehicle for that. And print media, we are always looking for ways to saturate this. Like I said, you need to hear or see something 7 times to recall it. Well, we want to be making sure that we are in every local newspaper, every print outlet we can find with regular messaging to drive those messages home. Now, print media may be a dying industry in this state, but that means that every single print outlet that is still around has an even larger reach because there are fewer competitors out there. So something to keep in mind as we move forward into 2025. Thank you all, and I'll kick it back to Matt for our next speaker.